The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy as hundreds of alien representatives gathered for an emergency session. The massive crystal dome above them showed the infinite expanse of space, a constant reminder of their responsibility to maintain order in the galaxy. High Speaker Marcus stood at the central podium, his gray skin reflecting the soft blue light of the chamber. His four eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress that everyone in the room could recognize. The news he carried would shake the foundation of their carefully maintained galactic order. Distinguished members of the council, he began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic speech, we face an unprecedented situation. The species known as humans, from the planet they call Earth, has achieved faster than light travel. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. Earth was supposed to be centuries away from such technology. The humans were classified as a primitive species, barely able to reach their own moon. The Council had been watching them for decades, amused by their clumsy attempts at space exploration. Defense Minister Lyra stepped forward, her crystalline form catching the light. "This is unacceptable," she declared. "We have protocols for emerging species. Earth has not been properly evaluated or prepared for integration into the galactic community. Their development has been too rapid," another representative shouted. "They must be contained before they destabilize the entire sector." High Speaker Marcus raised all four of his hands, calling for silence. "We have confirmed reports of human vessels appearing near the Centauri system. They have established research stations near their fourth planet, Mars. Their technology appears crude, but functional." The Council's chief scientist, a blob-like being named Rel, projected a hologram of the human ships. They looked ungainly, with visible welding marks and inefficient engine designs. Several council members laughed at the primitive appearance. "Do not be deceived by their apparent technological inferiority," Rel warned. "Any species achieving FTL travel deserves our careful attention." Defense Minister Lyra moved to the center of the chamber. "I propose immediate action. We must show these humans their place in the galactic hierarchy. A simple display of force should be sufficient to bring them to heel." The vote was quick and nearly unanimous. The Council would send their fleet to destroy the human research stations near Mars. It would be a clean operation, no loss of life, just destruction of property. The humans would learn their lesson and submit to proper Council authority. 3 days later, the Council's most advanced warships appeared near Mars. The human stations were primitive constructions of metal and plastic, rotating slowly in space. No weapons, no shields, no signs of advanced technology. The Council ships opened fire with their lowest-powered weapons. The stations exploded spectacularly, fragments scattering across Mars' orbit. The Council fleet transmitted their message to Earth. "Submit to Galactic Council authority. This is your only warning." They expected immediate panic, perhaps desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, there was only silence. Earth's many radio transmissions, which had been filling space with their chaos for decades, suddenly ceased. No response to the Council's ultimatum came. High Speaker Marcus watched the reports with growing unease. He had studied Earth's history, though only superficially. Something about the silence bothered him. In all their recorded conflicts, humans had never responded to aggression with silence. "They're probably cowering in fear," Defense Minister Lyra said confidently. "Give them a few days to realize their situation. They'll submit." But as Marcus stared at the holographic image of the blue-green planet called Earth, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had made a terrible mistake. The human silence felt less like fear and more like the calm before a storm. In his private chambers that night, Marcus accessed the Council's database on Earth's military history. As he read about something humans called Pearl Harbor and its aftermath, a cold feeling crept through his body. Perhaps, he thought, they should have looked more closely at how humans responded to unprovoked attacks. But surely, he told himself, no primitive species could challenge the might of the Galactic Council. Could they? The silence from Earth stretched into its first week, and the Council celebrated their successful show of force. None of them noticed the small changes beginning to appear in their computer systems, or the microscopic anomalies in their shield harmonics. None of them realized that humanity's silence wasn't submission. It was preparation. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Admiral James Miller stood before a massive holographic display of the solar system. Red dots marked where the alien warships had destroyed the research stations near Mars. He smiled slightly. Everything was going according to plan. "Status report," he commanded, his voice calm despite the enormity of what they were about to do. Professor Helen Reed stepped forward, her white lab coat contrasting with the dim lighting of the command center. "The nanobots we planted on their ships during the attack are performing perfectly, sir. They don't suspect a thing." 3 weeks had passed since the Galactic Council's attack. On the surface, Earth appeared to be in chaos. Cities had gone dark, communications had ceased, and all visible space activity had stopped. The truth, however, was very different. "Show me their shield analysis," Miller ordered. The holographic display changed, showing complex patterns of energy fields surrounding the alien vessels. For decades, humanity had hidden its true technological advancement. The primitive research stations were nothing more than elaborate props, designed to be destroyed. "Look here," Helen pointed to a specific pattern in the alien shields. "Their entire defense system relies on a predictable quantum frequency. They never considered someone might be able to manipulate it." In another part of the facility, technicians worked tirelessly on what appeared to be crude spaceships. These too were props, but with a deadly secret. Each vessel contained millions of advanced nanobots, waiting to be released. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chamber, the aliens celebrated their apparent victory. Defense Minister Lyra stood proudly before the assembly. "The humans have learned their lesson," she declared. "Their silence proves their submission. Soon they will beg for our guidance." High Speaker Marcus wasn't so sure. He had spent the past weeks studying more of Earth's history, and something bothered him deeply. "Has anyone actually been able to scan the planet's surface?" he asked. A technical officer responded. "Our scanners show their cities are powered down, their militaries are inactive, and their spaceports are abandoned." "And that doesn't worry anyone?" Marcus pressed. "A species just gives up after one attack." In the mountain facility, Admiral Miller received another report. The aliens' AI systems had been completely mapped. Every code, every protocol, every weakness had been documented. The nanobots had done their job perfectly. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting attempts to scan our surface." Miller nodded. "Let them see exactly what we want them to see. Are the underground cities completely shielded?" "Yes, sir. As far as they know, humanity is cowering in their powered-down cities above." The truth was far different. 90% of Earth's population had been quietly moved to vast underground complexes over the past decades. The surface cities were mostly automated now, designed to be turned on and off at will to maintain the illusion of a less advanced civilization. Professor Reed approached Miller with another update. "The quantum transmitters are ready. We can disable their entire fleet with a single command whenever you give the order." "Not yet," Miller replied. "Let them think they've won. Overconfidence will make them sloppy." In orbit around Jupiter, hidden by sophisticated cloaking technology, Earth's real fleet waited. Not the crude vessels the Council had seen, but ships that represented the peak of human engineering. Quantum drives, artificial intelligence beyond anything the Council had achieved, and weapons that could reshape reality itself. "How long should we wait, sir?" Helen asked. Miller looked at the holographic display, watching the alien ships patrol the solar system with arrogant confidence. "Let them celebrate for a few more days. The longer they think they've won, the harder the truth will hit them." In the Council chamber, Marcus couldn't shake his growing unease. He had found references in Earth's history to something called playing possum, pretending to be harmless until the perfect moment to strike. But surely, he thought, no species would have the patience and discipline to maintain such a deception for decades. Would they? As the Council celebrated their easy victory, humanity's trap was nearly ready to spring. 3 weeks of silence would soon give way to a response that would shake the galaxy to its foundations. The Galactic Council's observation fleet picked up the first signs of movement from Earth exactly 1 month after their attack. A dozen crude-looking ships, similar to those they had destroyed near Mars, emerged from Earth's atmosphere. "Look at those primitive vessels," Defense Minister Lyra laughed, watching the holographic display. "They haven't even activated their shields properly." The Council's command center buzzed with amused chatter as they watched the human ships slowly approach. The vessels appeared to be held together with basic welding, their engines leaving messy ion trails in space. High Speaker Marcus wasn't laughing. Why now? He wondered aloud. Why send such obviously inferior ships? In the underground command center on Earth, Admiral Miller watched the same scene with a very different expression. "Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Professor Helen Reed's fingers flew across her quantum interface. "Activating dormant nanobots now, sir." For the past month, the microscopic machines had been spreading throughout the Council's fleet, hiding in their computer systems, their life support, their engines. Each one carried a piece of Professor Reed's revolutionary program. The Council fleet moved to intercept the approaching human ships. Their massive vessels dwarfed Earth's small fleet. "Shall we destroy them now?" Lyra asked, already reaching for the weapon's control. "Wait," Marcus said suddenly. "Something's wrong. Our long-range scanners are acting strange." In the depths of the Council's flagship, trillion of nanobots received their activation signal. They began their work, microsecond by microsecond, rewriting the alien technology from the inside out. "Preparing the decoy attack," Miller announced. "Commander Gray, is your team ready?" On one of the seemingly primitive human ships, Commander Thomas Gray smiled. "Ready and eager, sir. The Council won't know what hit them." The alien fleet opened fire, their energy weapons lighting up space. The human ships broke formation, moving with surprising agility for such crude vessels. Not a single shot hit its target. "Impossible," Lyra shouted. "Their evasion patterns are too perfect." That's when the Council's problems really began. Warning lights flashed across their command center. Shield harmonics fluctuated wildly. Navigation systems showed impossible readings. "Our targeting systems are malfunctioning," a technical officer reported, panic in their voice. "The computers aren't responding." Professor Reed watched the chaos unfold through the quantum feed. "The nanobots have achieved full system integration, Admiral. Their fleet is now operating on our protocols." The primitive human ships suddenly stopped their evasive maneuvers. They formed a perfect circle around the Council fleet. Strange energy readings began emanating from them. "What are they doing?" Marcus asked, genuine fear in his voice for the first time. Commander Gray's voice came through on all Council communication channels, speaking perfect galactic standard. "This is just a small demonstration of human capabilities. Your shields are now under our control. Your weapons are disabled. Your engines will only go where we allow." The Council's mighty fleet hung helpless in space, surrounded by ships they had dismissed as primitive just moments before. "Impossible," Lyra screamed. "You're nothing but primitives. We've been watching you for decades." "No," Gray replied calmly. "You've been watching what we wanted you to see. Would you like to see what we really are?" At that moment, the quantum sensors that humanity had hidden throughout the solar system deactivated their cloaking fields. Thousands of advanced human vessels appeared, surrounding the Council fleet in a perfect sphere of overwhelming force. Admiral Miller stood in the command center, watching the Council's reaction through their own security feeds. "Send the message," he ordered. Every screen, every hologram, every communication device in the Council fleet displayed the same simple text. "That was your only warning. The real demonstration begins now." High Speaker Marcus stared at the message, then at the massive human fleet that had appeared from nowhere. He remembered something else from his study of Earth's history. A quote about awakening sleeping giants, and filling them with terrible resolve. The Council was about to learn exactly what that meant. Alarms blared throughout the Council fleet as system after system fell under human control. The mighty alien vessels, once symbols of galactic superiority, now floated helplessly in space. How is this possible? Defense Minister Lyra demanded, her crystalline form vibrating with rage. Their technology was primitive. We've been monitoring them for decades. Admiral Miller's hologram appeared in the Council's command center, a courtesy call that felt more like a victory lap. You monitored exactly what we wanted you to monitor, he said calmly. Those radio signals, deliberate noise, those clumsy rockets, theater, those crude space stations, bait. High Speaker Marcus stepped forward, his 4 eyes fixed on Miller's hologram. How long? He asked quietly. How long have you been deceiving us? Since your first scout ship entered our solar system, 200 years ago, Miller replied. We detected it, analyzed it, and made a decision. Humanity would prepare, but quietly. In the Earth Command Center, Professor Reed activated a special display for the Council's benefit. It showed decades of careful preparation, underground cities being built, quantum technology being developed, and a vast network of hidden sensors spreading throughout the galaxy. Your mighty AI systems, Reed explained, her voice carrying a hint of pride. They've been running on our quantum protocols for weeks now. Every piece of data they process goes through our filters first. The Council members watched in horror as their own security footage played back, showing microscopic human nanobots infiltrating their ships during the Mars station attack. What they had thought was debris from the destruction had been a carefully planned delivery system. Commander Gray's voice joined the conversation. Your shields aren't failing. We're simply walking through them. Did you really think those energy frequencies you use were the most advanced possible? Humanity mastered quantum manipulation centuries ago. Impossible, a Council scientist shouted. Your civilization is barely space-capable. Miller smiled. No, we simply chose to appear that way. While you watched our surface cities and laughed at our primitive technology, we built our real civilization underground and in hidden space stations throughout our solar system. The holographic display showed massive human shipyards emerging from cloaked positions near Jupiter and Saturn. Fleets of advanced vessels, far more sophisticated than anything the Council possessed, moved into defensive positions. But why? Marcus asked. Why maintain this deception for so long? Because of this exact moment, Miller explained. We studied your Council's history. You've subjugated every primitive species you've encountered, forcing them into your hierarchy. But you never faced a species that was ready for you. Professor Reed added technical data to the display, showing how human quantum computers had been reading and analyzing Council communications for decades. Every secret, every weakness, every vulnerability had been cataloged and studied. Your entire defense network, she explained, relies on predictable quantum states. We've had the ability to shut it down for years. We just needed the right moment. In orbit around Earth, the Council's mighty fleet hung powerless as human ships began systematic scans of their technology. Everything they had thought superior was being dissected and analyzed by those they had dismissed as primitives. What happens now? Lyra asked, her earlier arrogance replaced by fear. Admiral Miller's expression turned serious. Now you learn why it was a mistake to attack a species you didn't truly understand. We could have been peaceful neighbors, but you chose aggression. You're about to discover why every human child learns about the mistake of provoking a sleeping giant. The hologram expanded, showing the true extent of human military power. Quantum gates opened throughout the solar system, revealing more fleets, more stations, more technology that the Council had never dreamed possible. High Speaker Marcus remembered all his research about human history, about their responses to unprovoked attacks. He realized, with growing dread, that the real demonstration of human power hadn't even begun. Admiral Miller stood before the massive holographic display in Earth's command center, watching as thousands of quantum gates opened across council space. The time for hiding was over. Now was the moment to show the galaxy humanity's true power. All fleet commanders, execute Operation Thunderclap, he ordered. Commander Gray's voice came through the quantum comm. Copy that, Admiral. Strike fleets are moving into position. Throughout council space, their mighty defense stations began shutting down one by one. The supposedly impenetrable planetary shields protecting their core worlds flickered and died. Panic spread across their communication channels. This is impossible. Defense Minister Lyra screamed as reports flooded in. Our entire defense network, it's just gone. High Speaker Marcus watched in stunned silence as human warships emerged from quantum tunnels near every major council world. These weren't the crude vessels they had seen before. These ships were works of art, sleek, powerful, and radiating technological superiority. Professor Reed's voice echoed through every council communication device. Your quantum shield matrix has been compromised. Your AI defense systems are under our control. Your weapons are disabled. Do not attempt resistance. The Council's mighty armada, spread across dozens of star systems, found themselves surrounded and powerless. The human ships moved with impossible precision, their quantum drives allowing them to appear and disappear at will. Status report, Miller commanded. Phase 1 complete, sir, a young officer reported. All Council military installations have been neutralized. 0 casualties on either side. That was the part that terrified the Council members most. The humans could have destroyed them completely, but instead chose to disable their defenses with surgical precision. This wasn't just power. It was power with absolute control. Commander Gray's flagship appeared above the Council's capital world. This is your final opportunity to surrender peacefully, his message broadcast on all frequencies. We have no desire for bloodshed, but we will not tolerate any further aggression. In the council chamber, Marcus turned to his fellow leaders. They could have destroyed us at any time, he realized aloud. They've had this capability for years, maybe decades. But they waited. Waited for what? Another council member asked. For us to prove our intentions, Marcus replied. They needed to know if we would be peaceful neighbors or threats. We chose to be threats. Admiral Miller's hologram appeared in the council chamber again. For centuries, we watched your council subjugate primitive species. We saw how you forced them into your hierarchy, stripped them of their independence, and molded them to your will. The hologram expanded, showing hundreds of human fleet movements coordinated with perfect precision. We could have revealed ourselves years ago, but we needed to understand. Would you respect a species that matched your power? Now we have our answer. Across council space, human ships took control of key military and government installations. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled for thousands of years, found itself completely at humanity's mercy. Professor Reed's quantum systems methodically dismantled the Council's remaining defensive capabilities. All their military AI cores are now under our control, she reported. Their automated defense systems have been neutralized. And the council members themselves? Miller asked. Contained but unharmed, Commander Gray reported. Their personal shields and weapons have been disabled. They're not going anywhere. High Speaker Marcus stood in the center of the council chamber, surrounded by the holograms of Earth's leaders. He finally understood the full magnitude of their mistake. They hadn't just provoked a primitive species, they had awakened a sleeping giant that had been watching, waiting, and preparing for this exact moment. The hammer had fallen, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the Grand Council chamber, now under human control, Professor Reed prepared to give a presentation that would shatter every assumption the aliens had about humanity. The chamber's holographic systems, now enhanced by human quantum technology, filled the space with intricate displays of Earth's true history. Let me tell you the real story of human technological development, she began, addressing the stunned council members. We didn't just recently achieve faster-than-light travel. We mastered it over 3 centuries ago. Defense Minister Lyra, her crystalline form dulled with defeat, spoke up. "That's impossible. Our first scout ship only entered your system 200 years ago." "Exactly." Reed smiled. "We detected your scout ship while it was still at the edge of the Orc cloud. That was the moment we decided to hide our true capabilities." The holographic display showed Earth's real timeline of advancement. Underground cities being built, quantum technology developing, and massive space stations being constructed, all hidden from the Council's primitive scanning technology. Admiral Miller joined the presentation. "While you watched our surface activities, our real civilization thrived in secret. Those cities you monitored, mostly automated. Those space stations you destroyed, deliberately primitive." High Speaker Marcus studied the displays with his 4 eyes wide in shock. But the radio signals, the digital communications, all the technological progression we monitored. A carefully crafted deception. Commander Gray explained as he entered the chamber. Every transmission, every satellite launch, every space mission, all designed to show you exactly what you expected to see. The holograms shifted to show vast networks of quantum sensors spread throughout Council space. Earth had been monitoring the Council's every move for decades, analyzing their technology, understanding their weaknesses. "Your greatest mistake," Reed continued, "was assuming that quantum mechanics worked the way you understood it. Humanity discovered deeper levels of quantum manipulation centuries ago. Your shield technology, your FTL drives, your AI systems, they're all based on primitive quantum theories." The display showed how human nanobots had infiltrated every level of Council technology. Their AI systems hadn't just been hacked, they had been fundamentally rewritten on a quantum level. "We could have revealed ourselves at any time," Miller added. "We could have joined your Council, shared our technology, helped advance the entire galaxy. But we watched how you treated other species, how you forced them into your hierarchy, how you stripped them of their independence." Commander Gray activated another display, showing hundreds of hidden human outposts throughout Council space. "We've been everywhere, watching everything. Those primitive trading ships you ignored, our most advanced surveillance vessels, those simple communication relays, quantum monitoring stations." A Council scientist stood up, trembling. "But why? Why maintain such an elaborate deception?" "Because we needed to know," Miller answered. "Would you be peaceful neighbors or potential threats? When you attacked our research stations, you gave us our answer." Professor Reed's next revelation hit even harder. "Those stations you destroyed near Mars, they were built specifically to be destroyed. We knew your protocols, your procedures, your likely responses. The whole incident was engineered to test your intentions." The chamber fell silent as the full magnitude of human preparation became clear. Earth hadn't just surpassed the Council technologically. They had been playing a game so advanced that the Council didn't even know they were pieces on the board. "Your entire defense network," Reed explained, "has been running on our quantum protocols for years. Every piece of data you processed, every command you issued, went through our filters first. We didn't just defeat you. We've been inside your systems since before you knew we existed." High Speaker Marcus slumped in his chair as the truth crushed his last hopes. The Council's nightmare wasn't just military defeat, it was the realization that they had never been in control at all. 1 month after humanity revealed its true power, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The ornate symbols of Council authority had been replaced with simpler designs. Representatives from every species, not just the powerful ones, now sat in equal positions around the chamber. Admiral Miller stood before them all, his uniform crisp and formal. "The old Council is dissolved," he announced. "In its place, we established the Galactic Alliance of Free Species." High Speaker Marcus, now serving as a regular representative of his species, watched as humans efficiently reorganized centuries of Council bureaucracy. They didn't destroy the old system, they transformed it. "Each species will maintain its sovereignty," Professor Reed explained, operating the new quantum display systems. "No more forced hierarchies, No more technological suppression. No more primitive classifications. Commander Gray's ships patrolled the new trade routes, but not as oppressors. They served as guardians, ensuring the safety of all species as they adapted to the new reality. But how can we trust that humans won't become what the Council was? A representative from a formerly suppressed species asked. Miller smiled. Watch, he said, activating a holographic display. It showed human ships helping upgrade the technology of former primitive worlds. Engineers taught them about quantum mechanics, medicine, and space travel. We hide our technology no longer, Reed added. Any species that wants to learn can learn. Any world that wants to advance can advance, at their own pace in their own way. The former Defense Minister Lyra, her crystalline form dimmed with humility, spoke up. And what of those who were part of the old council? Those who supported the old ways? You will have the chance to prove yourselves again, Miller replied. Not as rulers, but as equals. Humanity remembers its own history. How ancient enemies became allies, how former adversaries learned to work together. The display showed the changes already happening across the galaxy. Former council worlds opened their borders. Species that had been kept apart for centuries began trading and sharing knowledge. The rigid hierarchy that had stifled growth for so long crumbled away. But know this, Commander Gray added, his voice firm. Any attempt to restore the old order, any move to suppress other species, will be met with immediate response. Earth remains watchful. Professor Reed activated another display, showing the vast network of quantum sensors still monitoring galaxy-wide activities. We've hidden our capabilities once. We won't need to do so again. The chamber watched as human ships helped dismantle the old Council's suppression systems. The weapons were converted into tools for exploration. The control centers became centers of learning. Some of you may wonder, Miller continued, why we don't simply take control ourselves. Why create this alliance at all? He paused, looking around the chamber. Because isolation leads to stagnation. Because diversity breeds innovation. Because we believe that every species has something unique to offer. A holographic display showed new trading posts being established, new diplomatic channels opening, new scientific collaborations forming. The galaxy was transforming from a rigid hierarchy into a living network of equals. The old Council's greatest mistake, Reed explained, wasn't attacking Earth. It was believing that power only flows one way. That advanced means superior, that different means inferior. As the session ended, High Speaker Marcus approached Miller privately. You could have destroyed us all, he said quietly. Instead, you're helping us rebuild. Why? Miller looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's crystal dome. Because that's the true measure of civilization, he answered. Not how well you can defeat your enemies, but how well you can turn them into friends. Across the galaxy, ships of all species began moving freely through space. The era of suppression was over. The age of collaboration had begun. And Earth watched, not from the shadows this time, but openly, ready to guard this new peace with all the power that had won it.